Welcome to the May 11th Board of Selectmen meeting. First order of business is call meeting to order. Next item of business is approve the minutes of the April 13th meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Marshall. All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing all hands raised and hearing Marshall, meeting minutes are approved. Next is approve the minutes from the April 28th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing all hands raised and hearing from Marshall, in the affirmative, all the minutes are approved. Next item of business, the presentation of the Spirit of America Award. It's been recommended and Select Board has approved the following resolution. The 2021 Raymond Maine Spirit of America Foundation Tribute Honors Gary Bebo for commendable community service. Be it resolved that whereas the 2021 Spirit of America Foundation Award for the town of Raymond, Maine is hereby awarded to Gary Bebo. We bestow this honor to Mr. Bebo for his continued and selfless service to the members of the community. Whereas Mr. Bebo has been a steadfast member of Raymond for many years. In 2015, he became the operation manager for the Raymond Food Pantry, which serves approximately 130 clients per month. During his tenure, his responsibilities have included pickup and delivery from multiple sources, inventory management, and container preparation for distribution to needy families and seniors. A committed and dedicated volunteer, Mr. Bebo always displays a positive approach and a sense of humor, even when managing multiple tasks. Whereas Mr. Bebo is a trusted and reliable neighbor, deeply rooted in charitable values and a lifetime of helping others in need. It is these qualities of service, family, and community that makes the town of Raymond proud to recommend Gary Bebo as the 2021 Spirit of America Award nominee from Raymond. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Raymond, Maine honors this deserving citizen, Gary Bebo, with the Spirit of America Award, presented May 11th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion is carried. Thank you for your help on this, Gary. This, we see a lot of people going in and out of the food pantry, and it certainly, especially in this, in the COVID time, it's been a great help to the people of the town, and we appreciate the service there.
Totally unexpected. Thank you very much.
If I could just add that this award will be recognized sometime in October in a county-wide recognition ceremony. So Gary, I would ask that your address be available at Town Hall so that the invitations can be properly sent out to you.
Okay.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Next item of business is consideration of a liquor license extension for Cafe Sebago. Kyle Bancroft, you want to speak on that?
Thanks for taking this into consideration. Recently, I've just signed a long-term lease for the rear of the Cafe Sebago's existing building. It's approximately 9,200 square feet. We'd like to use that for additional parking and outdoor entertainment. In order to do that and serve beer, wine, and liquor, we need to extend our current license because our footprint has expanded. So today I'm asking you to review the sketch plan that I put in place and to give me any kind of feedback that you have in order to accomplish.
Is it on now?
No, it's not on now.
Okay. Alex, you have any inspections been done and things like that, or what actually needs to get done here?
Yeah, I haven't been down there to do any inspections or anything, but the expansion into the rear, the new leased area for parking and for entertainment use does require some additional approvals from me and the town planner as well. We don't have any of those approvals in place, and Kyle has not submitted an application yet, but we did meet last week to discuss what's going to be required for that. But that hasn't been approved yet.
So is it fair to say that this is too early coming to us?
It depends on what it is that he actually wants to do. And if it's going to be, I think, and he can maybe give a little bit more information on that, but I know they want to park in the grassed area out back. And that's kind of a separate issue because the parking isn't something that falls under the liquor license extension. He's more or less looking to do like a beer tent out back and, you know, have, you know, kind of a little entertainment area for people to basically hang out outside and not have to be inside. That would be something that would require, because obviously the leased lot behind him is residential. It's a residential use for that lot. So now we're kind of changing the use of that newly acquired leased land in the back. So we need to now go through the process to, you know, change the use of that.
I guess I would say, looking at this, listening to you, that things just aren't all put together yet to come to us. Am I?
Well, he's asking for an extension, not a new license.
But it's not, because he's outside for one, instead of inside. Two is it's on residential land instead of commercial land. And he just got to Alex last week, so they haven't even really kind of summed that up.
If I may interject here. So we're looking at two separate things, right? So what I need to do with Alex or around planning because of my parking extension, what I'm looking to do tonight is just review what my liquor license would have. And I see it as kind of two separate things. Essentially, I'm just showing you the footprint of what my liquor license extension would be, and then it gets sent up to the state, and then they come down and they tell me that it's, you know, whether it's a go or not. So that's one thing. And then the second is the parking. I met with Alex as soon as I could last week, I believe it was, and he informed me that we have to get a plan in place for that. And I'm working on that right now. Unfortunately, I have to rely on an engineer. And as we know, right now it's just stuff moving quickly. So I'm hoping to have you review what the layout footprint may be just for the purposes of the liquor license extension, because I'm still probably 4 weeks out from that approval. And then in the interim, be able to satisfy what Alex is looking for on the zoning type of side of things.
Okay, so I have no problem. I mean, I guess, and I could be just wrong. It's like, I have no problem with the liquor license inside. I think outside is the different thing, but I say kudos to you for trying to make things work in these nice little times that we're having too.
Thank you. And we all, to add to that, our liquor license currently carries us outside into our existing patio area. So we are covered for the space that we already have outside. And this is just to cover the extension, which is probably 50 by 80 foot piece of grass area that'll abut the current layout that we have with the liquor license for the exterior.
But that has to be approved by the state, correct?
Correct. So this is the initial, what I have to do in this process is show you guys a sketch plan, get your opinion on it, and see if there's any feedback. Once you guys look at that and say, hey, it's okay, or we're going with this, then I can submit it to the state. The liquor license board or the inspector will come down. They'll kind of look at what we got going on down here, making sure that we're in compliance with what we filed with you, and they'll give us our final sign off, which is, you know, probably, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks out at this point. So I'm hoping to kind of just grab everything at the same time, be able to get you guys to look at this and see what we're doing. Work with Alex, which I've already tried to get those wheels going with the engineer and get it all taken care of so we can kind of hit the mark all at one time, just to try to save time of the whole process.
Can I ask, what is the people behind? Is that their personal property, or is that go with your building, or?
No, so the property behind me is a 3-acre parcel. It has a structure that sits on the backside, and
Mhm.
they are the that leased me the additional space. And I was looking for, with COVID and everything that's going on, I'm trying to keep more people outside, especially during those summer months while we get through, the whole process. And they were willing to work with me on that level. They've been great. So we had signed a long-term lease to be able to use that space and be able to expand outside so we can keep people out.
Okay,
So that's back where the softball field used to be.
Correct. Yep. So if you were looking at that parcel, our line is behind the cafe. We have 50 feet that goes towards the structure in the back and 180 feet from side to side on the lot line. It's all grass right now. And we had planned originally to use that for all outdoor space. And then we had some changes around here with the parking. So that's where Alex came into play, and that process came into play. Is now we have to add some gravel to the ends, shorten up what we wanted to do for our outdoor entertainment to kind of meet all the needs here to try to keep people happy.
Is this extension fenced in?
It will be, yes.
Tonight, U.S. officials may be talking to Israel, but so far the president is not involved. Lester?
All right.
what was that?
Television.
So, yeah, I mean, going back in history, back when that was the softball field, that was,
Yeah.
that was approved back then for those uses too. So it's bringing, of course, things have changed a little bit since then, obviously, but it's bringing some of that back in there, which is not a bad thing either.
So do you need,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so do you need like an approval, a vote from us tonight on what we see?
Yeah, essentially, I think what the state is looking for right now is just that we had talked about what we want to do, that you saw our sketch, and then that gives them the green light to be able to do their job. So they'll come down and they'll go through the process and make sure that our fencing is correct, that everything is compliant within what the law is and what they require. So this is kind of that first stepping stone. You can even talk to them and get them down here and get everything dialed in.
I guess I don't want to hold you up by no means, but I feel like I'm jumping ahead of Alex is what it is, because he's the one that would be doing, the okaying on everything and working with him. And then usually it comes that way. And I feel like if we vote yes on this, the diagram, I feel like we haven't really gotten Alex's say on it type thing.
Yeah, so I had spoke with Alex about this, and I kind of discussed my approach with him in his office, and I think that he's on board. He could speak to it, of course, but like I said, what I'm trying to do is just condense everything down. Obviously, I won't be able to get approval for the state level without having him go ahead and signing off on what we need to do. So I'm really just trying to save some time if we can. But I also understand your standpoint as well. If Alex says, hey, maybe we got to slow our roll a little bit until we can get this caught up. It's not what I want to do, but I also understand the position. So we'll work with you on any level. I'm just trying to, summer's coming quick. I have to make some quick adjustments. So I'm just trying to condense into very quickly, but also doing it correctly.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, the town manager has a comment.
Would a conditional approval be the way to go, perhaps, depending upon state approval and also approval by the code enforcement officer and planner?
Fire department.
And the fire department.
And fire department too. I mean,
All right, fire inspector.
But
In order not to hold him up and in order to,
Yeah.
To say that there are additional approvals necessary here.
yeah, I mean, it appears that we've, there's a couple layers of approvals here. I mean, there's us that are approving, we would be approving at this point for him to be able to submit to the state for their consideration. Alex still would have to approve any the parking and things like that, because that falls under under any of those ordinances. The fire inspection, you're not reconfiguring the cooking areas or anything like that. So it really is Wayne just going back in and making sure everything is still in good shape, correct?
Yes. So I met with, sorry.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I met with Wayne last week, and we kind of discussed, what needs to go in to get this expansion. I got a checklist with him that we're gonna, hit all those marks, and I kind of left it with him. I said, I just want to know what you need, and then when we get to the, we'll get it in place, which is pretty straightforward. We had a good discussion while I was here, and I think we'll be able to cover all the bases that he's requiring pretty easily.
Can we hear from Alex too on this?
Sure.
Alex, let me ask one very simple question. Is what he is trying to do with this extension is to stay into business while it's going through the approval process? Am I sort of correct on that?
What I have told Kyle is I've given him the verbal okay to have people park in this new grassed area. I feel like that makes the most sense because parking is very tight over there. And if we tell them they can't park there until it's approved, they're going to just end up parking across the street. And then we're going to have people crossing 302. So for right now, I've said parking back there without any approvals is okay. What I've said he can't do is use that space for the entertainment portion of what he's proposed. So that would include the beer tent, cornhole, stuff like that. I asked that he doesn't do any of that until he has the permits and the liquor license, obviously. So if you guys do approve it with a condition that he has to get all of the required approvals, then I think that's okay. I mean, you can look at it, this does occasionally happen with large projects like, if an Applebee's comes to town, occasionally what they'll do, it's a very quick process. So they want to make sure they get their liquor license before everything's complete so that they can open as soon as the business is, built and ready to go. So it's kind of a similar situation. He wants to make sure he has the license to actually do this. And he's starting the process now. So I guess, if you guys do go ahead and approve the license without having the permits in place, just add into the motion that, it's approved based on the condition that he gets all of the required local and state approvals before he operates.
Right.
Marshall?
In the sequence of approvals, who has the final say?
I don't have any authority over the liquor license stuff.
Yes.
That's out of my hands completely. So that's you guys, but the final say, I believe, Sue, is that something that you can?
I think I can speak to that a bit, at least with the liquor license. If the selectmen say, no, we don't want this, it ends there. If you say, yes, it's okay, and it's contingent upon getting all of these, then the license stays on my desk until Wayne and Alex let me know that everything's all set and that it's sent to the state. At that point, the state would say yay or nay. So
Okay.
there are several layers of being able to say yes or no.
Trying to cut through that. So if everybody says, okay, does it come back to the select board for final approval?
No.
No.
Not unless you don't make a motion tonight, and then it would have to go through all of the other approvals and then come back before the select board.
Thank you, Sue.
So here's a scenario. So what if we have other businesses in town that would like to do the same thing? And then we've got several of them that got a bunch of permits in waiting. Is this all going to happen because everybody's trying to get in for the summer thing? Alex?
It could. It's always a possibility. I think timeline wise, he's kind of already a little bit behind here. I think if that were the case, we probably would have already seen a little bit of that because things are going to be picking up in the next couple of weeks. Obviously his fear is missing the entire season. If we're waiting till August, then he only has a few weeks of the real busy season before things shut down. So I mean, I think that that's always a risk. You know, you're worried about precedent in any situation where you're making kind of a unusual decision. But I mean, realistically, I mean, I don't know that it's going to be, you're not opening the floodgates, I don't think, with something like this.
I mean, you know, but if the approval is conditioned on the other approvals, if any of those fail, then the approval's not there, so.
Well,
And at
yeah.
that point, what I would suggest is that the select board not sign it until the other approvals are complete.
Does that meet the needs of Mr. Bancroft?
Well, I believe with my application, I will need a signature in order to file it. And then I like where you're going with the conditions. I think that we could cover these bases with the layers by just saying, hey, we're going to send this up, but a final approval won't happen here on the town level until A, B, C, and D are met. But you know, see more information on that than I do. I'm just kind of working from.
Once that document is signed, that is approval, and there's nothing the select board can go back on.
Okay.
So,
So, I mean, at this point, if I could get to the point where, you know, we get a vote on it tonight, we set the conditions, I meet those conditions and send it to the state, that would still put me in a better position than I would be any other scenario.
So if I understand this correctly, the conditions would be clearance from the fire department, clearance from planning and zoning, and clearance from the state liquor commission.
no, for your approval, it wouldn't be the state liquor commission. They need your approval before they'll even look.
Fire and zone, you know, fire and well, Alex and the fire department. Which, you know, because the state gives the approval on the liquor license at that point. What we would be approved, you know, saying is we're approving it conditioned on meeting Alex's and Wayne's inspections and approvals, and therefore, because we've already voted it, then we can sign it and he can then send it on to the state after, you know, once they give their approvals.
But Sue is saying once we sign it right now,
Well, that's
we're
what I'm saying.
saying
We wouldn't sign it until until Wayne and Alex approve it.
but Kyle just
Well,
said they need the
But then
signature.
it's just saying we don't have to come into another meeting. We're approving it conditioned upon that. And at that point, then we would go in and sign it. So he can then send it there without having to go to another select board meeting. Otherwise.
So Teresa, what he's saying is if we could get the vote tonight and that you guys hold the paperwork and the signature that I need to get to the conditioned upon Alex's approval and the fire department's approval, you guys will keep that all together until it's whole, like we agreed about in this meeting. Once those are all met, then it could be sent and I could wait for them to call back. So essentially it's preventing me from having to do this again in a month. It allows me to get to work on that and getting all those conditions met. So when they are met, it's as simple as getting a signature from the select board, and then I can send it off for approval with the liquor board.
Well, and I understand that, but from what you're saying, you said that you needed a signature from the select board. And then Sue is
What
saying,
he's saying is he needs a vote from the select board. We just would not sign the form until we get approval from Wayne and Alex.
all right, because then I could swear that you said that we needed some kind, at least one signature.
No, because he can't send it. He can't send it to the state until it's signed. And all we're doing is by voting voting the conditions. We're
Right.
saying that we will sign it upon the approval of Wayne and Alex.
And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with everything else. And we've done that before where we've held it based on those conditions.
Right.
But I heard that Kyle said, and maybe I misheard it too, that you needed at least one signature to do it. And Sue had said, no, once we sign it, it's technically approved. So
I might have misstated. That might
Okay,
have been a
so-
mistake on my behalf. Yeah, I might have got ahead of myself a little bit, so I apologize.
okay, then I have no problem on the conditions at all then. Yeah, because I don't want to set because there is a lot of things that have to be done, but I also don't want to hold you up in the process. So you need a motion.
Can you
Go
hold
ahead,
on a
Marcia.
second? Can you hold on? Tell me a little bit more about the parking issue, because I know the donut shop over there complains on occasion on parking issues.
Yeah, so
You have enough
we
space?
we're gonna have enough space with the extended parking. So as you know, this lot is notoriously, we had an agreement worked out with the neighbor, and
Right.
then things have different due to the volume that we're doing down here. So
Right.
in order to make up for that, that's why I had to cut the entertainment space down and add the parking over here. You know, it's been difficult to deal with a neighbor, to say the least, for whatever the reason may be. I've been very cordial, and I get along with all these other neighbors, especially the one that just gave me a long-term lease in the rear. But for some reason, him find some common ground with the parking. So we decided to say, okay, we're going to have to expand it out back. And that's kind of what gummed this whole situation up. There wasn't gonna be any parking, and I had to kind of move on the fly to adjust to what was going on down here. And that's where the permitting and all the stuff comes in with it.
Hey, thank you.
Kyle talks the talk. You visited it, right?
Please. Can we?
May I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The term entertainment has been mentioned, and if it's going to be any kind of musical entertainment, there is a special amusement license that needs to be gotten, just for your information.
When I say entertainment, it's playing large any kind of music events.
Who's talking?
I think Kyle's trying to.
Kyle's trying, but it's his.
No, Kyle's not. Oh, it's frozen. Oh,
Yeah.
Kyle, are you there?
Or he can stare extraordinarily well.
This is a weird meeting. There you are.
There you go. Now you.
Nope, he's frozen. All right. While he's frozen, we can do a motion.
So we need a motion with the conditions.
All right. So I make a motion to approve the liquor license extension, not the extension, the liquor license, based on Kyle getting all the permits, all the inspections that are needed, and everything from that ABC lined up. Yeah, Rolf's gonna change it on me, watch.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Discussion.
All right, Marshall, do you have discussion?
No, I thought Kyle did.
All right.
I think I covered the bases here. I unless you guys have any more questions for me, I mean, I'm pretty with where.
Okay.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Seeing all hands raised, motion is carried. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you
Next
very
item.
much. I appreciate your time.
Next item is consideration of a liquor license renewal for the Beacon.
And Pam and Robbie said due to business, they may not be able to come. This is their annual renewal. I'm not sure where Wayne is on the fire inspection, because when I was putting my agenda together, I looked back at last year, found that they should have come up in February, and they went, oh my goodness, and got their form into me. So Wayne just got it last week.
So to speak to the fire inspection, that hasn't occurred yet. They're aware of the items that they need to accomplish for the inspection. And so we're waiting to get those items done and then go in and do the inspection.
And what's your timeline on that?
There's two, I don't know, right? Sitting right here at this point, I don't know. I mean, I can go in and do an inspection, and then outstanding items, I just have to wait for example, the fire alarm system report. I haven't received that yet. the hood cleaning. They were trying to schedule the hood cleaning. So give you a time frame, I don't know, but
I have to
It's
say
good.
again, I don't want to hold anybody up, but it seems like we're giving approvals on things before we're getting all the information on the stuff.
Yeah, and in this case, their license is expiring. It's toward the end of the year, so.
I would suggest the same solution here as the last one.
and they've been real good. That should work out just fine with the fire life safety stuff.
When does the license expire, Sue?
I'm not at my desk, but I believe it expires in June.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. According to the application, it says expiration is June 2021.
Okay,
So those expire the first of the month or the end of the month?
I'm not sure. I think it depends on where the state puts them. They kind of stagger things a bit. And it does take the state about a month to deal with things. So.
It's the end of the month.
Is it?
So
Okay.
let me ask a question. Okay, so when their license expires and they haven't got it renewed yet, but they're in the process of it, what happens with their?
The state will grant them a 30 or 60-day extension.
Okay, so so in this case, we could even wait, or do they need this the approval there too?
Well, the sooner they, if you approve it contingent upon a favorable fire inspection or completion of all the tasks, then that just speeds up them being able to send it up when it's ready, as opposed to waiting for the June meeting, which isn't until the 15th of June. And this extension that I'm talking about is an extension of the liquor license, as opposed to Kyle's, which was an extension of the space the liquor license is covering.
All right, I'll make a motion to extend the Beacon's liquor license contingent on the inspection passing.
second,
Discussion? All those in favor? Seeing all hands raised, motion is carried. The next item of business is consideration of a recycler's license for Raymond Service Center. Alex?
Yeah, so this one is for Raymond Service Center. They have a recycler's license. He does salvage title work, and because of that, the state requires him to have a recycler's license. So it's not like a junkyard. You guys did approve this last January, and so the way the statute's written, they have a 5-year cycle. So he needs to get approval every 5 years, but annually, you guys are required to basically sign off on it as long as nothing has changed. So I'm here to report to you that he's told me nothing has changed, and he's just looking to get his annual approval.
Questions?
I have one. Is there anything the selectmen need to sign for that, Alex, or is it just a vote?
we
There
need to
is
sign.
something they need
Yep.
to sign. There should have been the application that I think I emailed it to you.
Was it, then I put it in the packet without reading
In
it.
the last page of the packet.
On the permit, it does show that we have to sign it. All right. I make a motion to to extend another year, the recycler's license for Raymond Service Center.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Seeing all hands raised, motion is carried. Next item of business is a status update on Shaker Woods. Alex and Kathy?
So Jared's not here tonight, I don't believe. As far as I know, he's working. So I'll kind of keep it short since he doesn't have the opportunity to comment. But Kathy, Wayne, and I last went down there to do an inspection on April 2nd. So we're due to go back again. We've been trying to check in every 3-4 weeks right now. Jared is back to work, so it's getting a little bit more challenging to schedule inspections with him. But the last time we went down, they had finished the new bathroom. They have remodeled the bathroom space and have completed or mostly completed that section of the house. And they have removed some of the, there's a lot of HVAC equipment that's no longer functioning in the dwelling. So they had removed some of that. And the punch list that we had given him in April was to continue to remove some of that unnecessary equipment from the dwelling. He needed to get all of the required permits for the project, which he has submitted applications for now. So we're all good there. He needs to install a bathroom exhaust fan, do some repair work to the building drain, and add some additional insulation to some of the exterior walls where there was a wood stove, I believe, and cover that insulation with sheetrock, remove some no longer functioning miscellaneous electrical wiring outside, and then continue to remove the junk from the property. He hadn't made a lot of progress with the exterior junk removal. The focus was the house, which that was what we had told him, to focus on the house to make sure that that was safe. So we're getting there, but we also want to make sure that he's continuing to remove the junk, and we told him to prioritize fuel containers. There's a lot of propane tanks and other storage containers on the site that we wanted to make sure that he cleaned those up first, especially around the house. And he was in the process of fixing a truck, which he did tell me when he came to get the permits that the truck's now fixed, which was going to allow him to start to load stuff up and move it out. So that's where we're at. And Kathy and Wayne, if you guys want to add anything, feel free.
As Alex said, they've made some improvements. Their process has really slowed down. And I think it's going to be a very big challenge for them to meet the requirements that we set forth, especially on the outside.
Yeah.
He had made contact with a couple of folks to try to do the cleanup. He wants to make money off of it because some of the stuff is valuable, but there's so much stuff that is not valuable that I don't think reality has set in for Jared. And I think we all just have to understand that this house is never going to be fully up to code housing that we would normally see. It's always going to have some deficits. I'm okay with that because that's how they choose to live, as long as we can fix the health and safety issues, as long as the electrical, the egress from the building, that type stuff is fixed. It's never going to be a lot more than that. So I just want the select board to understand that, but they are trying to make progress.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
One, I know a fire truck could not get in there, or an ambulance couldn't get in there before. And I don't know if there's stuff on the road or was it because of the snow, but can you guys get in there if need be? Because that's a safety issue.
I'm going
there.
to say yes. I have seen worse driveways, Teresa. It's not
Okay.
as bad now that mud season and snow is gone.
Okay.
Would be hard pressed to get a fire truck right to the house, but we could get a 4-wheel drive vehicle up there. We've been able to drive up in our 4-wheel drive vehicles. He does have the resources. I believe Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, has at least a piece of apparatus that he could drag the road and fix some of the ruts. He might have to get some fill in to do it.
Okay.
But we are able to get in as of right now, Teresa.
Okay. The second one was there was 2 tenants, I believe, in the other buildings. Are they still living on property, or?
As far as we know, in talking to Cumberland County Sheriffs and that, the back trailer, that the illegal one, is still there, but it's empty. They have moved out and they tore off part of the structure that they had put onto the house. The front trailer is occupied and that's safe to be occupied.
Okay. Okay.
Marshall?
Kathy, is it reasonable to assume that he could get this house in livable condition by September?
If he had resources, yes, do it all himself. The neighbor that was working down in the front trailer, Dana, was helping him out quite a bit over the winter, but now Dana's gone back to work. He wants to do the work himself for the most part, you know, to be cost effective. They're getting there on the inside. The outside is not going to be done, Marshall.
Okay. His wish list is pretty long in this case. How's mother?
She seems to be doing okay. She wants to live there. She's repeatedly told us she's, to say mildly, irritated with the town of Raymond for making them do this. You know, this was the house that her husband built for her. And, you know, they have talked about in times selling it and moving to something that's better equipped for her. But I think right now their goal is to get it cleaned up and stay there for a while.
Okay, thank you.
Would it be asking too much to say we have certain goals before winter, so they're safe for the winter again, so they don't get in the same kind of bind, you know what I mean? Making sure it's safe for them inside.
I thought we had those in place already.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Really, the deadline was March 1st. So we've been giving them basically a punch list, and we go every few weeks and say, you need to try and get this done. And there's been constant progress.
Good.
Like Kathy said, it does seem to have slowed though. Every time we go, it seems as though less and less is being done. But they're still moving forward. So we're kind of nearing the end of the minimum requirements for the garage dwelling. There's still some more stuff that needs to be done in there, but I do think it's realistic that they can at least have that to our minimum, you know, in the next few months, as long as we don't go in the wrong direction. That's our fear, is that we're going to start to go back in the wrong direction again. So that's what we need to check on. We're definitely going to probably want to schedule a time to go back out there in the next week or two to do kind of a check-in on that. And the real difficult thing is going to be cleaning up the junkyard. There's no way that that's going to be resolved by the October 1st deadline, I believe it was. So I would prepare yourselves for us to possibly have to go the enforcement route with the order on that, because I don't see that cleaned up in the amount of time that you guys gave him to do that.
Okay.
Other questions? Hey, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Next item of business, consideration of reactivating the recycling committee to study the viability of recycling. Kevin, I think I saw you there someplace. Oh, there you are. You want to speak to that, because you had expressed some interest in working on that during the budget hearings. So
yeah. Hi, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So Kevin Oliver, obviously Raymond resident, budget finance committee member, and what I do for a career is I'm a manufacturer's representative in the power industry and work very closely with the waste to energy boilers in that industry, and have over time had conversations with the operations of those facilities that have pretty much, you know, they say, and they're pretty close to it, that there is no market really for recycling. And if there was a market for recycling, you know, he expects that recyclers and facilities would be reaching out to towns for that material. He also, I spoke with Matt Albert, who is the maintenance manager for Penobscot Energy Recovery up in Orrington, and he told me that Governor Mills signed an executive order. It was number 24 for fiscal year 1920, and went into effect March 26, 2020. in that executive order, Section 2, Article B states that recycled materials that are sent to a waste to energy incinerator are actually considered recycling. And the reason for this is that how we typically consider recycling, like Raymond does, you know, we separate the recyclables into a different stream. Those are picked up, brought to facilities where they're either accepted or rejected. And oftentimes at these recycling facilities, unless they're 100% clean, they're not contaminated. You know, peanut butter plastic jars don't have peanut butter in them still. Pizza boxes don't have grease on them, which is almost never the case. Boxes that we order things from Amazon that have plastic shipping tape and labels on them, that's contamination because it's plastic. It's not clean corrugated mixed paper. There are so many reasons why these items get rejected, and ultimately they get sent to the landfill when that happens most of the time. And so the alternative is sending these to the incinerator where they are burned. They are used to create energy to power the grid, which offsets other sources like coal or other carbon-based fuels. And what's left is basically water vapor coming out the stack based on the back end technology of these boilers to clean the flue gas. And the volume that is left over is just fly ash. They separate the metals out; those get recycled, through metal channels. And the fly ash, the clean fly ash, is then used, for farmers and other uses. There is a market for that. So I think the common misconception is that residents believe that they are doing some environmental good by spending their time and energy separating these materials into a separate stream. But there's a lot of question about what actually happens when they get picked up and where do they go and how much new raw material is being offset by those. So without continuing to carry on too long, be happy to answer questions. I think it makes sense to open the door to look into that chain of custody. And are we just spending money to create a separate waste stream or recyclable stream? And does that cost equal the benefit? And we really don't know right now until we look into this a little bit further. And I think that's the genesis of this, the question here. You see my son?
Yes, right behind you.
Yeah, he's trying to peek.
So essentially, what you want to do is get this group together to look at what's being done, what the options are, and things like that, and then come back with some recommendations. Correct?
Yeah, I kind of envision this as, based on my experience, I believe that there is really a poor market at best for recycling. And what are the alternatives? I mean, if we said from now on, all your recyclables are going to go in the waste stream, obviously people are going to not feel good about that because they're going to think, well, we were recycling and now we're just throwing it in the trash. But, if our trash is going to MWAC in Auburn and being burned, and, if that's the outcome anyway right now, but we're spending X amount of dollars thinking that it's going somewhere else, I think it makes sense to study that and come back and report back with,
yes,
is the cost of this recycling program really worth it? Because as Matt pointed out, sorry, I took a couple notes here, but he said, while our time and money is wasted for the benefit of the profit for waste collectors. So, like a pine tree waste or whatever, if they can separate this out and say, well, you have to pay us so much per ton for waste and then an additional so much per ton for recycling, versus just having everything in the waste, when many of the recyclables end up there anyway, I think it's worthy of looking into that cash
Absolutely.
flow balance.
Yes.
And if it comes back that it makes sense to continue recycling, then that's what it comes back as. But I don't think we have all the information right now.
How long do you think it would, realistically, how long do you think it would take to do the study?
Well, if I look back at, in my business, these plants have annual shutdowns, and oftentimes they'll wait till, 4 weeks before the shutdown to order something that's, an 8-week lead time, and then you have to scramble to shrink that 8-week lead time into 4 weeks to get it there. So I guess what I would say is, how quickly do we want it? Because if we want it, before the next fiscal year, I could probably work my tail off and get it done. But if that's not necessary, then, I'd say by the end of the summer to give myself some time to do this. But I would be leaning on you guys to tell me where that clean break is.
Well, I mean, we're already contracted for next year anyway, so.
Okay. So really, we don't need anything, right off, is what I'm hearing.
Nathan, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I just want to point out that our contract is expiring June 30th. We have negotiated and have a new contract in place. This would change that drastically. They gave me a number today, and I do believe that does need a lot of research put into this, because this was a quick grab a pen and tell me how much we're going to save. If we cut out recycling right now, we're looking at about $60,000 in savings. We talked about the ACR, which is the average commodity revenue for recycling. In February, according to Pine Tree Waste, in February, it was $39.33 a ton. Today it was $56.40 a ton. Sure that they're seeing a loss coming up. They're gonna. I don't know. So if we do go forward with this, it is a 3-year contract. So I think that's going to change things if we say we're going to investigate this recycling thing and come back next year. We would probably see a change in the contract. It's a 3-year contract. They gave it its pricing as a 3-year contract. And obviously in that contract is, on their contract is $50,000 for recycling tipping fees. So that's money out of their pocket, basically, I think. So I'm a little concerned going forward, thinking we're going to change something in a year. I don't know if we need to tell them that or renegotiate or just not say nothing and move forward and do a surprise next year.
Don?
Well, they already are aware now that we're looking at this possibility, and assuming that we vote in the affirmative to form the committee, we have a year to do the study. So I would suggest that we have a deal for this upcoming year, and that they know that we're looking at it. And it would probably make sense if we go in a different direction, particularly if we go in the direction, without recycling. We know there's competition interested in our contract, that we look at competitive bids. And so I think, we have a 1-year deal. We shouldn't expect them to, hold to their deal for 3 years that they negotiated with us. And, I think that would be unreasonable of us. And I don't think we should expect them to do that. And so they've already committed to this 1-year extension. And so I think that everything should work out fine. And if we decide that we want to continue the way we are, then we have a 3-year deal.
It's not a 1-year extension, Don. It was presented to them as a 3-year extension, a 3-year deal. That's what I'm trying to explain. I don't think there's an issue. I mean,
I don't think there's an issue either. I'm saying they're going.
I think that if you're going to go forward with this, do you explain this to him? When I was talking to him today, he asked about the contract, and I said, we write it up, we'll go forward with it. And then he said, well, if you're going to change recycling, maybe we don't do that. That's just.
Well, let's go to.
Do we go forward?
Let's go to bid now. Then we have another interested party, and then let's see how that works for them.
Well, I'm not saying that, Don. I'm just saying that I need some direction on this. I think we should research the recycling. Absolutely. That's not even a question in my mind.
Well, you negotiated this deal this time, so if you want, I mean, I'll talk to them tomorrow. I'm pretty sure they'll go with that 1 year extension.
I'm pretty sure they will, but it wasn't a one.
That's what I would do.
That's not a 1 year extension that was directed from you to get from them. I got a 3 year extension. So if it's going to be a 1 year, I need to explain to them that it's a 1 year, or just tell them. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Well, I'm with you, Nathan. I think just to explain to them, they now know that we're looking at this committee.
All I was asking.
To prove it, then it's going to turn out to be a 1 year extension. It may go back to 3, depending on what we discover and what we decide, right?
I mean, we're presupposing what the answer is before before we even look at it. So I mean, it obviously, if in any contract, if something changes, then you've got to, you get some renegotiation that gets done, and that you have to look at that point. But right now, we don't even, we know that if we do nothing, we're where we are. What we don't know is if there's things that that we're doing, because I look at it from the standpoint that if we're going to make a major change, it's not going to be a quick change anyway, because you have the side of convincing people that change makes sense, where right now they're thinking, okay, we're doing the recycling, we're doing something good, whereas they need, we need to get information that says, is that really the case or not? And then people have to buy in on that too, because at the end of the day, people, the vote may still be from the people that says, we still want to do that. Because politically,
we just go through,
looks like we're doing something,
So we just go forward with I'll explain to them it's a 1 year extension, and with a possible 2 year add on it. Then
I agree.
Yeah, it's fine. Simple enough.
Kevin?
Oh, sorry, Marshall. I just had a quick question. So the first one was, is the contract already signed, or does it still? Okay, so there's still room to negotiate a little bit.
Correct.
That said, I kind of sense and agree with what I'm hearing, that from a public perception perspective, if we said, we're expiring June 30th or whatever the date was, and we want to make this change before this next contract, it probably looks like we're rushing something through.
That happened.
And I think,
yeah,
if you're going to put it out to bid, Kevin, right now, there's a lot of moving parts to this contract. I think right now, to put it out to bid for 21, 22 going forward, I think we're a little short on that.
Yeah.
Great.
But I also don't think, we've been a good customer for a long time. They don't want to lose us. I think that they will be amenable to going on a 1 year extension. I do realize, and I appreciate your 3 year negotiation. I thought you did a good job on that, Nate. But I mean, who knows?
I wasn't trying to be argumentative, Don. I don't know what to tell the guy. He asked me the question today, and I didn't know what to tell him.
Oh, well, we can have a Zoom meeting with him tomorrow and talk it over. But when you made the negotiation with him and came up with this deal based on our prior negotiations, we didn't know that this discussion was going to occur at the budget committee, and this was going to develop. So it's a new thing, and so we haven't signed the contract. I think it can work out for both parties. I mean, they're in the waste collection business. If what we do is just collect waste and not recycling, that's still a pretty good contract. So there's opportunity for them yet. So I think we just need to talk to them.
I understand that. I was just asking what to go forward with.
Marshall?
Kevin, what is clear glass recyclable, or does it go to the trash?
No, you muted yourself, Kevin.
All right, there we go. I had started building a slideshow. I never really completed it, but in that I did separate out that for, okay, so give me a minute here.
Kevin, I was just curious, is it all or nothing? Or does some of it recyclable and some not?
What I've pulled off is off of like state of Maine websites and things like that. But what is considered recycled material? And that list is mixed paper, corrugated cardboard, glass, metal tin containers, and plastics number 1 through 7. No styrofoam bags or films. So glass is considered recyclable, yes.
Okay. I know there's a company in Lisbon that deals with glass, I believe, and they're pretty busy. I'm ready to make a motion that we start an exploratory commission on recycling.
Okay, so,
I'm ready to second that.
yeah, well, what you want to do is you want to reactivate the recycling committee, because the recycling committee, and the reason being that committee already, that structure already existed. It hasn't been functioning in a while. So essentially what you want to do is reactivate that.
I will move that we reactivate the existing recycling committee.
I second.
Thank you, Rolf.
Discussion? All those in favor? Oh, wait, Don?
Are we going to re-advertise for new members?
Yes.
Now, that was one of my questions. How many do we have left?
Yeah, because now, once you reactivate it, then you have to fill it. So
I don't think the original membership is around, many of them.
right, but what you're doing is just create, that structure already existed. So you're reactivating that structure. Now you've got to fill the seats.
Should you go ahead and appoint Mr. Oliver to the committee?
Well,
Yeah, well, let's do the first order of business is to reactivate the committee. After that, then then you work on filling the committee. Nathan?
would you do it with staff and Kevin Oliver and then maybe a selectman and do research before you went out and tried to get a committee? Just a thought. We can get the research, find out if this is something we want to explore and go forward with, or.
Well, I mean, you can, the committee could exist of that structure. It's just, Kevin first.
Yeah, sorry I had a thought. So whereas I'm not familiar with the existing committee or the dormant committee, I guess, what did that consist of? How many members? What was the constituency like?
I don't remember the number of members, but the committee would have been all about trying to advocate for recycling and to educate folks on recycling and to promote the reuse of materials that had previously been discarded in the trash. It was active when I first came. That was 20 years ago plus. And Phil Hammett was the leader, and he was a very ardent recycler and did a very, very good job in that committee. And he had been active in it for a number of years. When I arrived here, I remember working with him, but that was the focus. It was, as you know, at that time, that was something that was really being heavily promoted by the state. It was being promoted nationally. And so, Raymond and Nathan actually probably could tell you more about the history, but Raymond had gone through several iterations of recycling, and so that was what they were doing, was promoting and trying to get the town to do more and more comprehensive recycling is what was happening.
He actually started the program. He was the founder of the whole.
Oh, he was, okay.
He was first member and ran it from the start.
Okay.
He did a fantastic job of it.
Yeah.
But things have changed a lot since then. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Marshall?
I think there's more to this decision rather than to recycle or not. I think we need a committee to look at the focus of the committee. There may be more involved. And number two, the optics of public perception, because there is training curves involved in this, I think.
Right.
I think there's a lot of different levels to this too. I think right now we're tied to a contract, and our recycling has to go to a certain spot.
Right.
Back when we were doing it in-house, we marketed it to different facilities.
Right.
Sometimes it went to MWAC, sometimes it went up to a place in Oxford. Again, times have changed, and obviously Pine Tree Waste has got a vested interest in this. They got a recycling center, and they're going to charge us up to $135 a ton to sort our recycling. So it is
good for them.
Yeah. I guess. It's a different world now. And
Don?
I like the idea of forming the committee as you would any other committee, advertising for interested people, doing a comprehensive study with all deliberate municipal speed, staffing it with, staff to local government staff here to assist as we can. So we have somebody, Nathan, probably me, we have someone to take minutes and to, have public meetings. And then, there's a report and public education. And then, depending on how the selectmen, decide on it. And then they, probably something this large, it should be a public vote. And see where things go. As you would point out, Ralph, people may want to continue to recycle even if it costs money. I mean, I don't know. I having been actively involved in this in another town, it ebbed and flowed. There were times when we made a lot of money, and then there were times when we didn't make any money at all. There were times when it cost money, and that's kind of been the history here too. The reason I got rid of the recycling in favor of the recycling company, gave them the revenue, was I could see back then that stabilized rates were more important and better for the town than the ebb and flow of recycling revenue. Now, I didn't know it was going to fall off a cliff and be a real liability for them. And that's what it turned out to be. And now in this position where they want to charge back us for this recycling and at the market rates. And so that's really, really bad. So I hear Kevin and I understand it, having watched it over my entire career. So I think we want to go very deliberately and do a comprehensive study and open it up to people with different perspectives and come up with a final report, and then let the selectmen and then maybe ultimately the people decide.
Other discussion? So, yep, Kevin?
I don't want to keep this going, but my only last comment would be, I feel like if this committee is formed, and maybe this is what's going to happen anyway, we need to have some sort of organization to it, because I think if it's, and I'm speaking complete negligence, like if it's just we're advertising and people are interested, but there's no like lead person and like focused punch list of like, what are we looking for? What is it that we're researching? Whether it be chain of custody, whether it be the cost, I think we need to have that developed, or it's just going to be chaos.
Yeah, you'd have a chair and you'd have a mission. I think this is not the recycling committee that was kind of an open-ended, let's look at everything and anything related to trying to improve our recycling mission. I see this as a specific charge, recycle or not. Let's do a study and come up with a specific report on it. And I don't agree with the notion of, let's recycle this year and not next year. It took a long time to get people trained and get them to be, in the mode of doing this. And so if you were to go the other way, I think that's a big decision. But I think the mission of this group would be to study this and come up with a recommendation. That's the mission. And you'd have a leader and you'd have a committee. They might have specific, duties amongst the committee members as you do the study. But it would be a purpose designed committee for this one study. And then I don't know where it would go from there, but I don't think there'd be an expectation they'd go on to anything else unless they had a desire and there was something logical to do next and they wanted to do that and the selectmen wanted them to do it. That's how I see it anyway.
So I mean, and that's why I said, to reactivate it, because then it falls under the committee rules of the town, which sets up chair and things like that, so that you have structure that exists under there. It's either that or we're forming a new committee, in which case then that almost requires some other actions and whatnot. This just, because the committee did exist, by reactivating it, it was a town committee, therefore it operates under the town committee rules.
You may get some volunteers to do that too. Like I think we had last time. Do we have a motion on the table?
The motion, the motion on the table was to reactivate the recycling committee.
Do we have a
Is it
second?
just that, or is it to study the viability of recycling?
Well,
No, to activate.
Just to reactivate?
Reactivate it, because then when you get the people, then there'll be a mission created underneath that. Once you have, you've got to get people that are willing to serve on it and whatnot.
But when we advertise for this committee, I think it'd be important to outline what we're asking people to do.
Right, which is, but if you make it, we've had the discussion on what we want that to do. What we're doing right now is saying, do we want to reestablish that committee?
Yes.
We then have, what's the direction of the committee?
Okay.
Motion, is the motion on the table?
The motion is on the table.
Second.
Discussion. And the motion on the table is to reactivate the recycling committee. All those in favor? Seeing all hands raised, motion is carried. What will, the next thing, the next order of business on that is to find members of it. Then then they can flush out how they want to go about the research.
Right.
Any other discussion on that?
So we'll proceed with advertising, and Sue and I will probably consult with Kevin and put together something that will be succinct but clear as to what we're looking for.
Yeah, because ultimately what's going to happen too is then the select board will have to appoint the, from that list, appoint the members of the committee. The committee itself then would vote its chair.
Does that sound reasonable, Kevin?
Yeah, that sounds great. Ready when you are.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate your son for the committee, Kevin.
That's a bad idea.
Hopefully it's not gonna take that long.
Got a very short attention span.
He's got a long one. He's good. Bryson's a good kid.
Yeah.
Moving right along. Next item on the agenda is any public comment. I think we have a hand raised, Mr. Levitt.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. Good, good. Thank you. Charles Levitt, East Raymond Hill. I don't have video going, but I guess I'll just do my comments as is. Maybe I'll try this though. Excuse me 1 second. Does that do anything? Didn't seem to. Well, nope, didn't. Okay. You can still hear me though, I take it.
I think you may have something over your camera. Because
Okay.
we see red, we see a square of red, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, never mind. No need. My monkey and I don't have to have that kind of exposure anyway. My first observation again will be that for for this calendar year, 2021, I have now officially still attended more select board meetings than Selectman Taylor. My next comment concerns the annual town meeting. It has been decided to conduct the citizen approval of the town warrant by ballot on June 8th, 2021. The warrant contains many new ordinance changes that are quite detailed and can be found in the warrant and online. Equally important are the budget articles that are of a very specific fiscal year 2021, 21-22, that are generalized in groupings and not specific as in a line item budget. That one passed by the budget committee on April 27th and the select board on April 28th. 13 days ago. Now, I know the select board and the administration strive for competency and transparency, but I am puzzled as to why 27 days before the public is to vote on this $7 million town budget plus in the use of taxpayer money, as of 6 p.m. this evening, there is no place on the Town of Raymond website to access this budget. Click on proposed 21-22 budget and you get no page found. Go to documents. Nope. Go to departments. Finance isn't even listed. Try town manager. Nada. How about the budget finance committee reports? Ah, finally. Oh, never mind. Fiscal year 2016-17. Okay, surely the select board e-packets will contain the budget. Not a chance. Now I'm a little disappointed. Based on the all-out communication blitz the town mounted on the RSU withdrawal, which incidentally is still online, full-page ads, and in articles in the press, I expected the same effort when it came to spending $7 million of our money. I sometimes feel like there's no one in the store. Last meeting, I spoke about the budget TIF tricks and the undesignated fund balance gimmicks. And this year is no different. The real budget this year is $500,000 more than last year, despite reductions in debt service, providers, and even the big bad Cumberland County budget. But presto changeo, we'll keep your tax rate low by using money we overtaxed you last year, and don't worry about the major stuff, staff and program growth in animal control, tassel top, and parks and recreation. I can't tell you where else because you, the voter, and I can't see it. Magically disappeared. Without an open town meeting, it is nearly impossible for citizens to express their concern on Raymond's budget, unless they vote all fiscal warrants down with a no vote. Pretty drastic. I suggest people vote no on Article 7, the $75,000 Select Board slush fund. It's a step in the right direction and sends the message to the incoming Select Board and town staff that honesty and transparency are needed more. I was going to say are coming, but abracadabra, maybe we can get there. To further that end, I'd like to ask the 1,000 voters who voted to support withdrawal, please vote for Dana Desjardins. He is not a tax and spend Republican politician, and he does not support tricks and gimmicks.
You're going
2,000
beyond
voters.
public comment into advocating for a political position that's not allowed in public comment.
Okay, I withdraw. Then I endorse the other candidate. It's time.
You're endorsing a candidate which is not allowed in public comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Then why don't I say this? The 2,000 voters who saw the gimmick that was proposed by most of the members of this select board, use your voting power. There were 2,000 of you who saw through.
Confine your comments to comments, not political endorsement.
This isn't an endorsement. This is a comment about the last election.
Next item on the agenda, selectmen comments. Seeing none. Next item is town manager's report and communications.
Thank you. I'd just like to briefly give you a little report on the American Rescue Plan. Kathy Goslin and Kevin Woodbury, Bruce Tupper, Nathan, Kayla, a number of other staff members have been assisting. You know, we put together a comprehensive package of possible projects in anticipation of this funding that we received, which is around $450,000. It's now a little unclear whether any of the things that we submitted are going to be eligible. We did get some new guidance today, so we'll be having another department head meeting tomorrow. And you know, the big item, and it's because it's subject to the Board of Selectmen ultimately as to where you think we ought to go, but we're, you know, very interested, of course, in the broadband option. You know, we're hopeful that the state of Maine, the federal government, are going to be moving forward in an aggressive way towards that goal as well. And it is something that's going to be perhaps as long as 4 years before it ultimately all, you know, comes out and in terms of all the funding. But they're now telling us, I guess Kathy says today during her research, that we need to have another proposal by August. So we'll be coming back to you with that, I guess, sooner rather than later, once we figure out what it is that we can do within the eligibility guidelines. And it is, even though it's now been finalized, it's not exactly crystal clear. And so anyhow, I just want to report back to you on that, and there will be more information forthcoming. I mean, it is all good news, but the question will be what exactly we can do that will benefit our town, that will fit within the administration's goals and priorities. And as I said, I'm hoping that we can come together as a nation, as a state, as a county, as a group of communities, and that we can work together on what I think the top priority is. And I think that is the modernization of the infrastructure when it comes to electronic communications, being a broadband infrastructure network for this country. To me, it's as important as the interstate highway system was in the 1950s. It's past high time that this happens. You know, we did it for a long time, and you know, we're now hearing all the right, I guess, ideas coming from our elected officials about it. And you know, I'm just really thinking that this will be the time. And so I'm hoping that that money can be put towards that goal in our community. And if not, then of course, hopefully something else that'll be equally, if there is such a thing, meaningful for the future. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you. Now on to the more mundane, our meetings coming up. Upcoming regular meetings, June 15th and July 13th. And then we have the reminder of our upcoming holiday schedule. May 31st, Memorial Day. Reminder of upcoming election schedule, June 3rd. And so this will be the deadline to request absentee ballots. June 8th is election day. Election of municipal officers, town meeting warrant will be voted secret ballot, and our RSU 14 questions. Our polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Jordan Small Middle School gym. And just one comment, I see Alex is here, and we will check into the, you know, the allegation that somehow the budget's not online. I know the draft budget was online, correct, Sue? The draft budget?
I have no idea.
Well, our new finance director here? I see his face.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so we did put that online. I was not able to because I did not know how to do it, and Sue did go ahead and post that for me.
I put stuff up. I don't really pay that much attention.
Well, anyway, we'll make sure that's up, and certainly there isn't any concerted effort to hide the town's budget. So we'll make sure that's up and operational and easy to find. So, and if it's not already. So anyway, that's what we have, and we'll look forward to the vote. And of course, for folks at home, I mean, we'd love to have an open town meeting. That's what we do here. But the issue is public safety and being in compliance with the governor's order. And we're in a pandemic, and you know, that trumps having an open town meeting this year. So hopefully we'll be back to normal business next year. Thank you.
The next item of business would be a move to go into executive session.
So moved.
Who moved it?
Sam did.
Huh?
Sam did.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, but do you want the consideration pursuant to MRSA 1, Section 405, 6F?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Okay, we'll go into executive session. Sue, you're gonna put us into a breakout room. Thank you.
Sam, don't get lost. You're still on. Oh, there you go.
We lost Marshall and
Yeah, I think I'll try
Thank you,
closing the
Marcia.
rooms.
now
He
we're
took
waiting.
the long flight.
We're just waiting for Sam to come back.
Yeah. I just closed the room, so he has 60 seconds to come back or he gets ejected today.
He must have stopped for a snack in flight.
Yeah,
There he is.
there he is. Okay, I'll take a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Take a motion to,
Go ahead, Marshall.
Make a motion to go forward with the suggested suggested, what is it?
Scholarships.
Scholarships, I'm sorry, scholarships as recommended.
Second.
all those in
Sorry,
favor?
that's one of my problems.
Motion is seeing all hands raised, motion is carried. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank
Bye,
you all.
guys.